While sitting behind his desk at his boring work, our protagonist Seong remembers that he encountered something strange the day before. He was in his room when a status window suddenly opened in front of him. The interface looked like an online shopping platform. He tried to buy some of the items in the store, but no matter how many times he pressed the items, he just couldn't purchase them. He wonders if this happened because of his lack of coins, since his account balance is reading 0 coins. He remains even more baffled since the status window seems like those he sees in the apocalypse stories. He is recounting this experience when his manager barges into the room. Seong's manager screams at him, scolding him for spacing out. He asks him for the task he assigned to him the week before. While he is getting screamed at, Seong tries to keep his calm so he won't crash out. Seong knows that his manager is frustrated because he hasn't gotten a promotion twice, but this was his own fault. Things are about to escalate when one of Seong's co-workers, Seon-ah, calls the manager. Being the perverted dude that he is, the manager ignores Seong and rushes over to Seon-ah. The manager promises to let go of the issue because of Seon-ah. He starts touching Seon-ah inappropriately, forcing the lady to gently pull back her hand. He suggests that they have dinner together after work since she is dressed up all nicely, but Seon-ah humbly rejects the offer, telling the manager that she has other plans for the day. After getting rejected, the manager walks out of the room. Seon-ah and Seong both heave a sigh of relief after the troublesome man is gone. Seong thanks the lady for helping him out. Later on, Seong heads to the roof to enjoy himself with some cigs. He prefers staying on the roof, where he won't get screamed at by the manager. Seong is tired of his job, but he can't quit because of how hard it is to get a job. In addition to this, he considers the company he is working for a big corporation. Because Seon-ah helped him, he thinks of getting the nice lady a cup of coffee after work. Just then, Seon-ah pulls up on the roof. Seong is shocked to see the lady on the roof since she has no business being there. After all, she is not a smoker, and Seon-ah replies that she is there to get away from the manager. It turns out that the manager has been going around causing trouble for the other workers. Seon-ah noticed this and quickly escaped from the office before the manager turned his attention to her. Seon-ah then mentions that the weather seems cold. Seong slightly agrees with her, saying he found it weird since they are in the summer. Seon-ah talks about how cold she is feeling, and to prove it, she rolls up her sleeves to show the goosebumps. On the other hand, Seong doesn't think it's so bad the way the lady is saying it. Seon-ah replies that she is not the only one feeling that way. And to prove her point, she pulls up a video online. In the video, there is proof that it is snowing in Africa, which is obviously weird. Seong collects the phone to take a closer look since he doesn't want to believe that it is real. Once he has confirmed the authenticity of the video, Seong agrees that something is obviously wrong somewhere. Just then, they get a warning from the meteorology department about a cold wave. This further confuses the two since they are in summer and the department is issuing such a warning. The two assume that the department has been hacked since there is no way they would issue such a warning. Suddenly, snowflakes start dropping, and this is when the two realize that they are in a big mess. Later that day, everywhere was already covered in snow. This was very weird given that they are in summer. Seong assumes that the world has gone crazy, as this is the only explanation. Since he is the only one left on the roof, he decides that it is time he packs up and leaves before the traffic gets really bad. Seong reaches the elevator and tries to use it, but it refuses to work. Seong is frustrated since he is feeling really cold. The elevator is not working, forcing him to use the stairs. While walking down the stairs, he remembers the status window from the day before. The status window, coupled with the strange weather, Seong start getting weird feelings that they are all connected. He finally reaches his office floor and he notices that the elevator is now working, thus ruling out assumptions that it was broken. However, he notices that the elevator door keeps opening and closing. With this, he assumes that someone might be holding down the door. Things go from weird to weirder when a blackout hits the building. Seong gets seriously worried and thinks about just running out of the building without packing his things. Suddenly, he hears a metal scraping sound in the distance. This creeps him out, and instead of running away like he thought, he still proceeds into the office to try and get his things. Entering the office, he finds no single person, leaving him to wonder if everyone has already left while he was on the roof. Just then, he notices that the tables are still messy, which means no one has packed their things. This adds another layer of confusion to what he is already feeling. With everything he is seeing and hearing, he knows that things are not right. Seong manages to get his backpack, and just as he is about to leave, he notices a very weird shadow behind him. He dashes into the meeting room. He steps on an ID card, and when he picks it up, the ID card is bloodied. Seong is utterly shocked as he tries to fathom what is going on. Just then, he notices something weird in the office in front of him. He stares through the window, only to see one of his coworkers getting trashed by a zombie. Seong startles, attracting the zombie. His eyes met those of the zombie, and in no time the zombie came after him. The monster runs after him with the intention of sending him to the afterlife. Seong throws away every doubt he previously had and starts running for his life. Realizing that the zombie is catching up to him, Seong grabs an office chair and throws it at the zombie. This disorients the zombie, giving Seong the chance to run to the nearest door. He manages to get to the door and lock it behind him before the zombie can reach him. Once the door is between them, the zombie gives up the chase. Xiong cannot believe that he just had a near-death experience, leaving him dripping in sweat. Xiong loses his balance in fear and falls to the ground. Without having to be told, Xiong knows that the creature that just chased him is a zombie. Just then, he checks his phone to see that he has received an emergency message from the government. The message is sent out to warn the citizens that there is an outbreak of the rabies virus. Xiong is stunned at the nonsense crap that the message entails. He knows that the authorities are just messing around since what just chased him is a zombie and not some freaking human infected by rabies. Xiong goes through other news channels and realizes that they are all reporting about the weird thing happening in the city. Since chaos has taken over the country, Xiong starts connecting the events to the status window he saw the day before. He tried searching the internet to see if there was anyone else who saw the status window, but to his surprise, his search came out empty. Suddenly, Xiong gets cut off from the internet. This further freaks him out since he is now cut off from the rest of the world. Without a doubt, Xiong knows that he is screwed. To make things worse, he starts feeling cold, and he figures out that he will probably die from the cold before the zombies can even get to him. Not ready to give up on life, Xiong stands up so he can help himself before rescue arrives. He checks his mobile phone to see that it is currently at 83%. He figures out that if he manages the battery, it should last 3 days. He turns on the flashlight and starts walking up the stairs. He finally reaches the 7th floor, which is the floor for the construction department. He takes a quick look around, and when he doesn't hear anyone or see anything, he believes that there is no danger. He walks into the office to try and get clothes or something that he can eat. He starts opening up the drawers, and fortunately for him, he finds some clothes that fit him better than the ones he currently has on. Xiong continues looking around until he runs into a bag filled with snacks. His face lights up in excitement when he sees this. The bag has a blanket, snacks, and water. He is thankful that he found the bag because it is definitely a lifesaver. After this, Xiong decides that getting a weapon will be the best thing. He starts his search for a weapon, and once again, the manhwa gods shine their face on him. He finds a stash of golf clubs sitting pretty in a closet, and he picks one of the golf clubs. After he is done gathering resources, he sits down to assess his situation. He wonders if the supplies he has with him will be able to last for 3 days. He's trying to hold out till a rescue team arrives, but at the same time, he is worried that a rescue team might not even show up. Xiong stands by the window to check the situation of things outside the building. He is horrified when he realizes that the entire street is overrun by zombies. In addition to this, the bad weather will not make it easy for any helicopter to conduct a rescue operation. He sits down in fear, and the bitter realization that a rescue team might not even show up for a whole week. He decides to check out the status window again, and he finds some winter clothes up for sale. He tries getting the winter clothes, but he can't. He falls asleep while thinking of how to get coins, and he later wakes up to the sound of footsteps approaching him. Xiong immediately gets defensive since it might be a zombie. He arms himself with the golf club, ready to pounce on whatever it is that appears from the door. The door opens, and just as he is about to use his weapon, he hears the voice of a man screaming at him to wait. Xiong holds back, and he is surprised to see that it is one of his coworkers, Juman. Even though Juman is an annoying guy at work, Xiong decides not to hurt him. The two sit down to talk, and Juman narrates his experience to the dude. Apparently, he was in the break room when he suddenly heard a bang on the door from outside. Before the zombies could get him, he quickly locked the door. Xiong then asks him how he finally got out. Juman claims that he pushed the door open and ran to the emergency exit before the zombies could catch up to him. Xiong is totally confused about everything that the dude is saying, and he just assumes that he is spewing trash. Just then, Juman asks Xiong if he has something to eat, and Xiong says no since he is not ready to share his ration. However, he tells the dude that he can give him water. Xiong stands up to get some water for Juman, but just as he is about to leave, Juman grabs him by the hand, asking him if he truly doesn't have anything edible with him. Xiong is shocked by the man's reaction, but he goes ahead to try and get some water. While fetching the water, he replays the incident in his head, and he realizes that something is definitely wrong with Juman because he is sweating while everyone else is feeling cold. Xiong trashes his assumptions, believing that he is just being paranoid, but suddenly, he gets attacked by Juman from behind. Fortunately for Xiong, he is able to push Juman back with force. Juman is sent flying, and he crashes into the wall. Xiong is utterly terrified since Juman was doing well some moments ago. However, Xiong doesn't hesitate before attacking Juman, who is already a zombie. He smashes his head with the golf club until he is sure that Juman is dead. After killing Juman, he gets the notification from the status window that he has received a coin. This shocks him, but it finally dawns on him that killing zombies will get him the money he needs to buy things from the store. However, he is disappointed that he is getting just 1 coin even after he has risked his life. He walks up to Juman's body and takes a better look to see that there is a bite mark on his arm. Xiong sighs, realizing that this was where Juman was bitten. After this, Xiong sits down to smoke a stick of cig. He realizes that he can't trust anyone again, just because they look fine, since they might just turn into a zombie and attack him. Even though things are looking pretty bad for him, Xiong is glad that he has a pack of cigs to burn away his sorrow. Xiong covers his body with a blanket and figures that he needs to get a move on if he wants to find supplies. He looks outside from the window and sees a dude trying to escape the building, but he gets run over by zombies. In under a minute, the dead dude wakes up as a zombie too. Watching this startles Xiong, causing him to stagger backwards. Before Xiong knows it, he realizes that he has been stuck for 3 days. His battery percentage has also dropped to 3%. For the past 3 days, all he has been doing is staring at the window to see what is going on. In addition, he was also doing this to conserve energy. He now has a few snacks left, but still enough to keep him going. While he was watching from where he was, he saw different people try to escape the building, but all of them got turned into zombies. Even with how terrible things looked, Xiong doesn't see himself staying in the building forever. He believes that it is necessary for him to move. Xiong assumes that there are survivors still in the building, and he needs to find ones that he can relate to. He wants to gather a team so that they can work together and escape from the building. However, his first stop is the 6th floor. He decides to check the entrance to see if it is blocked, just like Juman claimed. Just as he is about to start moving, the power in the building suddenly comes on, shocking Xiong. Xiong gets his hopes up and rushes to the window, expecting to see everything bright. But to his surprise, outside the building is totally dark. Even though this was a dead end, Xiong takes solace in the fact that it was someone who turned on the generator. Since the light can go off any time, Xiong decides that it is best if he finds the survivor fast. He starts walking down the stairs, and he figures that the survivor is either in the management office or the security office. Thankfully, these two offices are on the 1st floor, making things a bit easier for Xiong. Before continuing his journey, he takes off his shoes to prevent drawing attention to himself. As he walks down the floors, he checks one of the offices and realizes that it is barricaded. His face lights up in excitement since this confirms that there are survivors in the building. However, he still has a mission to get to the 1st floor, and because of this, he decides that he will check who the survivor is later. Xiong continued his journey, and for minutes he didn't run into any zombies. When he finally reaches the main lobby, he peeks out the door, hoping that he won't find any zombies. But to his surprise, there are a bunch of zombies roaming the lobby. This further confirms his theory that escaping from the building at that moment is nothing but a death wish. At the same time, he is glad that the zombies that are outside have not found their way into the building. However, he knows that the doors might not hold for long. While the zombies are focused elsewhere, he steps out and makes a run for it. Moments later, he arrives at the management office. However, there are no survivors in the office. The only thing he found was the body of a nice man who always greeted him every morning. He died from hypothermia, and Xiong walks closer to shut his eyes so he can rest in peace. After this, he continues his journey to the security office, which is the 2nd place the survivor might be hiding. He arrives at the door of the office and figures out that he needs to be careful since the survivor might have prepared traps for intruders, which is something he would do too. He knows that presenting himself as a non-hostile figure is the best way for him to survive the situation. There are zombies walking all around him, but due to their poor eyesight, Xiong is able to move easily. However, the zombies are more sensitive to sound, which is why Xiong starts knocking on the door very carefully. After knocking for a while, he decides to open the door, since whoever is inside would have figured out that it is a human trying to open the door. Just as he opens the door, he sees a stick flying toward his face. As if he were already expecting to get attacked, he is able to dodge and block the incoming attack with his golf club. However, the sound from this attracts the zombies. Realizing that the zombies are onto them, the survivor pulls Xiong into the room and shuts the door. Once the door is locked, the two stare at each other while holding their weapons in a defensive stance. Xiong asks the dude if he is human, and he says yes. The dude returns the question to Xiong, and he answers the same too. Xiong then reveals that he came looking because of the emergency generator that came on. Trying to build trust, Xiong pulls out his ID to show the dude. He tells him his name and the office where he was working before the whole apocalypse of a thing. The survivor also introduces himself as Jae-sung, revealing that he was working in the development team. Meanwhile, Xiong is just worried that Jae-sung might have been bitten by a zombie, but hiding it under his clothes. On a closer look, Xiong realizes that the survivor is not sweating like Juman was. In fact, he looks very cold. Just then, Xiong notices the backpack on the table, and he wonders why Jae-sung had to gather that much supply. He assumes that Jae-sung might be bitten, and he is really hungry, which is why he has to stock up on food. However, he doesn't think a zombie in transition would have so much control. Xiong points toward the dude, but realizes that he has made him more suspicious, and he tries to brighten the mood by offering Jae-sung a cigarette. The monster Xiong brings out the smoke, Jae-sung lets his guard down, and happily accepts sharing a cig with Xiong. After he is done puffing, Jae-sung admits that he feels alive again. Xiong assures the dude that he knows exactly how he feels, since cigs are one of the few things they have left that can comfort them. Xiong then talks about how he has been starving. Because of this, Jae-sung reaches into his backpack. Xiong is able to see the amount of supplies Jae-sung has, and he figures out that he must have gotten everything from the storeroom. Jae-sung hands Xiong some snacks to munch on, and he urges him to eat slowly because eating too fast will only cause indigestion. While munching on the food, Xiong asks Jae-sung if he has cleared out the entire 2nd floor, and he says yes, since there is no one coming to eat them again. Xiong laughs out loud when he hears this, and Jae-sung also joins him. Seong then asks him how things are looking on the second floor, and Jae-sung confesses that things are pretty bad. Jae-sung narrates that he was initially trapped with a colleague, and they both shared supplies. However, this dude kept talking about how he needs to move. Jae-sung suggested that they wait for rescue to come, but he ignored and stubbornly left. However, it didn't take long before he was infected. Later on, Jae-sung was forced to leave the room too because his battery was about to die. When asked how he was able to escape from the zombies, he reveals that he had to distract them by throwing something to the other side of the room while he escaped via the opposite direction. Seong is impressed with his ingenuity, and he commends him. Seong then asks him if he was the one who turned on the emergency generator, and he said yes. When Seong asks him why he did this, he reveals that he had to charge his phone and power bank. Seong is surprised to hear this since he believes that there is no reason to charge their devices again. Seong saying this shocks Jae-sung, who asks Seong if he has been surviving without access to the internet. Seong then replies that there is no internet, but Jae-sung lets him know that satellite internet is available. Jae-sung tells Seong that the Spacelink internet is still available even though there are only a few servers left. There are also some communities that are still active that they can still talk. Seong is absolutely blown away by this. Jae-sung promises to help him charge his phone when he is done charging his. Moments later, Seong manages to charge his phone and he connects to Spacelink, shocking him. With this, he is able to see the other active communities, and Seong thanks Jae-sung for helping him connect to the internet and also for telling him about the communities. Shortly after this, the generator splutters and they realize that it is about to run out of power. Jae-sung then asks Seong what he plans to do. Before Seong can answer, Jae-sung reveals his intention to stay in the room. After assessing the situation and reading Jae-sung's body reactions, Seong figures out that the dude wants him to leave. Seong understands that the dude has already prepared the room for him to hold out, and he is just a stranger in his territory. Seong also doesn't think Jae-sung is the right companion for him either. Seong wants to explore the building, while Jae-sung wants to hold out in the room. Seong realizes that their objectives conflict. Because of this, Seong tells Jae-sung that he will be leaving. Jae-sung heaves a sigh of relief when he hears this and he drops the stick he was holding. Since Seong has promised to leave, Jae-sung reaches into his backpack. He picks out a power bank and a flashlight that he can spare. He gives this to Seong, telling him that it is his gift for him. Seong thanks him and appreciates the gesture because it is a good gift in a situation where there is nothing to rely on. To return the favor, Seong gives Jae-sung 2 sticks of cigarettes. With this, Seong says his goodbyes to Jae-sung, hoping that they will see each other alive again. Seong steps out of the room, and he knows he has to hurry before the power runs out. He sneaks past the unsuspecting zombies and heads to the stairs. He thinks of going to the basement and escaping in the company's car that he usually drives. However, he realizes that escaping from the building might be the worst decision ever. Seong believes that the time for him to escape will eventually come, but leaving the building at the current time will be a rash decision. Because of this, he decides to continue going up so he can collect all the necessary information before escaping. While walking up the stairs, the generator runs out of power and everywhere becomes dark again. However, Seong is not worried since he has a flashlight with him. He brings out the flashlight, and with it, he starts moving up the stairs slowly. When he reached the 6th floor, and just as he was about to proceed, he heard someone above him. Seong is left with the fear that it might be a zombie. However, he has come too far to turn back. He arms himself with the golf club, ready to fight his way out if that is what it takes. He soon reaches where the zombie is, and he is relieved when he sees the zombie facing the rooftop. He plans to carefully escape from the zombie, but to his greatest surprise, the zombie turns around and jumps at him. Seong raises the golf club and uses it to throw away the zombie, and it smashes the wall, leaving a huge dent in it. However, the zombie is not done as it turns around to attack Seong again. Seong returns the favor and smashes his golf club into the zombie. With the right enough force applied to the golf club, Seong smashes the zombie down the stairs. However, this is still not enough to take out the zombie. The zombie starts crawling up to Seong again, and Seong has no choice but to start hitting the relentless zombie on the head until it dies. After killing the zombie, Seong gets a coin again. The status window lets him know that he can purchase necessary items with the coins he has acquired. Just then, he realizes that one of the golf clubs is bent from using it to hit the zombie. He decides to keep the coins until later, but he is left with the question of where the zombie came from. Since the rooftop is closed, he wonders if it came from another floor. This is when it dawns on him that the 7th floor he is excited to go might not even be safe. He carefully opens one of the office doors, but to his relief, there are no zombies there. He finally sits to drink water and rest. While resting, he recounts the events with the zombie and realizes that it was quite fast. He believes that it was on the level of a wild animal and believes that the zombie might have been fast when it was still human. With this in mind, he knows that he would have been dead meat if there were 2 of them. Seong realizes that the best options for him are to either find a partner or put himself in a position where he only has to fight 1 zombie. Seong then decides to check the internet, believing that there might be more information on the zombies there. He logs into the survivor gallery, and 132 posts have been uploaded there. A user from Gangwon province talks about the harsh weather. He reveals that he left the tap open and water from it froze immediately. Another user talks about how he is about to turn into a zombie since he got bitten. After checking through the uploads, Xiong is disappointed that there is no information about the zombies. On his own, he has been able to figure out that the zombies have poor sight, but they are sensitive to sound. They also stay alive until their heads are completely destroyed. In addition to this, a bite from a zombie means turning into one. Since he couldn't get anything useful from the community group, he figured out that the government had collapsed. Xiong comes to the dark realization that no one is coming to save him, and he has to survive on his own in this harsh and dark world. On the 5th day, Xiong starts to get colder, and he realizes that at the rate at which this is going, he might catch a cold. He is not prepared to allow this to happen since catching the cold virus in his current state automatically means death. Xiong stands up to move his body so he can generate heat. Xiong engages in physical exercise by doing jumping jacks. After he is done, he consumes a whole chocolate bar because his body is already demanding more calories due to the exercise he just engaged in. After he is done eating, he decides to leave his shoes in his room so he can travel light and also reduce the noise he makes. The next thing on his plan is to find food before things get absolutely worse for him. He remembers Jae-sung's story and believes that there might be food in the backpack of his colleague, who turned into a zombie. He manages to make his way into the development team room. He encounters a problem because there are at least 4 zombies in the room, and he can't just snatch the bag from the target zombie without the others noticing this. He figures that the way forward is to take out the zombies one after the other and then grab the backpack after he is done. Xiong takes a look at the surroundings to figure out where the zombies are located. He manages to count 3 zombies, but he believes that there is still one more. He realizes that he needs to be careful not to run into the zombie when he is not prepared. He also thinks of getting tools that he can use against the zombies. Xiong starts looking into the other offices, and luckily for him, he finds some tools that he can use. His face lights up in joy when he spots the equipment. Once he is ready, he throws an object in the opposite direction from where he's standing. Once the object lands, it creates a noise that attracts the nearest zombie. Xiong is hiding in the perfect position to ambush the zombie. And just as it comes rushing headlong toward the noise, Xiong smashes the golf club into the zombie's head. The zombie crashes to the ground, and before the other zombies can reach him, Xiong quickly locks the door, trapping them outside. Xiong smiles because his plan worked, and he believes that by doing this, he's going to take out the zombies one after the other. Just then, the zombie he knocked to the ground grabs him by the ankle. Xiong is scared, and when he turns around, he sees the zombie grabbing onto him. The zombie raises its mouth, ready to bite him. Xiong panics, and the flashlight he is holding with his mouth falls off. He reacts to the imminent danger and uses his other foot to smash the zombie's head to the ground. Realizing that the zombie is still moving, Xiong goes into survival mode and smashes the zombie's head with his golf club. He repeatedly smashes the zombie's head until he is sure that the zombie is dead. Xiong holds his head in fear, realizing that he almost lost his life because he was careless. After he calms down a bit, he remembers that there are 2 zombies left. He picks up the flashlight and holds it with his mouth again. Xiong decides that it is best he takes care of the other 2 zombies before he draws the attention of other zombies to the area. Xiong kicks his plan into motion. He points the flashlight into one of the zombies' eyes, using this to get its attention. Xiong then picks out his target, which is the one with the backpack. He throws a spoon in the zombie's direction, forcing the backpack zombie to chase it down. Xiong then ambushes it after it picks up the spoon, and Xiong smashes its head, taking it out. Xiong gets a notification from the system telling him that he has acquired 4 coins. After taking out his intended target, he is breathing heavily. In addition to this, his golf club is totally damaged and he can't use it again. However, the target zombie is dead, and he starts taking the backpack off its body. Xiong smiles, because his plan worked perfectly. However, he no longer has a weapon and decides that it is time he leaves. Xiong now has the heavy backpack with him, and he steps out of the room. He thinks of searching the entire place since the area is silent. He looks around and soon finds a bottle of nutritional supplements. After he is done searching the office of the Development 1 team, he suggests that searching the office of the Development 2 team might come in handy too. Suddenly, he hears something behind him, and this scares him. He fears that it might be a zombie, and since he doesn't have a weapon, he is dead meat if he runs into the zombie. Xiong decides that running away is the best decision. He manages to return to the office, and he calms down, believing that he is safe. He decides to check out the items inside the backpack that he almost died acquiring. Inside the backpack are 3 cups of chips and 2 boxes of choco pies. There is also a tin of cookies and 5 cups of ramen. As if this is not enough, he even finds a can of cola. Xiong immediately becomes the happiest man on earth as he figures that the supplies will last at least a month. He figures out that as long as he has water, the supplies will take him through a month. Xiong sits back, concluding that the supplies he got were worth risking his life for. When the excitement finally leaves his body, he realizes that he is feeling cold. Since his feet are wet, it made it worse. He decides to wash the blood off his feet. He feels even colder while washing the blood off. He never thought that in his life, he would be washing his feet with ice water. Suddenly, he realizes that there is a wound on his ankle. Xiong is immediately thrown into panic mode. He figures out that he got the wound when the zombie grabbed his ankle earlier. Seong then calms himself with the fact that he was not bitten, and he would only turn into a zombie if he were bitten. He checks the community group for info about this. Seong's face lights up in joy when he reads that getting scratched by a zombie will not turn him into a zombie. Apparently, a user got scratched, and he has been fined for a few weeks. Seong heaves a sigh of relief, but he realizes that he still needs to attend to the wound since he has opened it up. He starts getting colder on his feet, and he fears that it might become frostbite if he doesn't warm up his feet. However, he is left with the question of how he is going to warm up his feet. He opens the status window and realizes that he now has 6 coins. He starts looking through the shop since he saw winter clothes the last time he checked. Seong gets to the clothes section. He finds winter clothes that cost 3 coins. Winter boots will cost him 3 coins. Winter gloves will cost him 3 coins. And a winter hat will also cost him 3 coins. Seong is devastated when he sees this. He cannot believe that the shop is selling everything differently. Realizing that he has no choice, he purchased the winter boots. To his surprise, the winter boots appeared right in front of him. Seong picks it up in excitement and shock to see if it is real. He was worried that it wouldn't be his size, but to his surprise, it also fits perfectly. Without wasting time, he starts putting them on, and he wonders if the items in the shop are customized to fit him specially. After he is done wearing the boots, he remembers the wound again and figures out that the boots will not heal his cold feet. He starts looking through the shop to see if there will be anything to help him. He scrolls through the shop relentlessly to see if there will be something that will help him. Moments later, he purchases an item that costs him 1 coin. Seong is glad that he was able to purchase a hot pack. Even though he considers the hot pack a bit expensive for 1 coin, Seong is glad that he was able to buy it since it is helping him feel much better. Seong places the hot pack on his feet, warming him up, and he smiles from the great feeling he is getting. On the 7th day, Seong tries to get water but realizes that the water has finally been cut off. He envisaged that this would happen, and he already stored some water in bottles. He has been able to store at least 2 liters of water. He fears that the water will only last 3 to 4 days before he needs to start searching for water. He was getting comfortable, but now he has lost his water supply. He lies down in despair, wondering why this is happening to him. Seong then checks his phone to see if there is any useful update. In the group, some also complained that they had lost the water supply at their house. A user reveals his plan to visit the supermarket even though it is dangerous. The user promises to update the group if he manages to survive the ordeal. After reading through the updates on the group, Seong realizes that the number of posts is gradually reducing. He figures that more people are dying by the day. In addition to this, he can't see survivors again when he stands by the window. Seong fears that they will all be wiped out at this rate, but at the same time, he wants to believe that there are survivors somewhere else that he doesn't know about. On the 8th day of survival, Seong tried reaching the user who had gone to the supermarket, but there was no reply from him. Without a doubt, the group figures that he is dead. Seong was initially hopeful, but when he saw this, he realized that things might be more difficult than he initially thought. He knows he has water and food left, but he tells himself the bitter truth that he can't wait around in the building. Seong decides that he needs to find a survivor and makes this person his ally since surviving outside the building will be much more difficult. However, he is stuck with no weapon, and he needs a weapon to at least move around. He searches his supply and finds just one more decent golf club that he can still use. He had hopes that the golf clubs would be more durable, but he has been disappointed. The golf club practically becomes useless after taking down 3 or 4 zombies. He looks into the shop and realizes that there is a hammer designed to kill zombies, but it will cost him 5 coins. He has only 2 coins left, but even with how tempting the hammer looks, Seong believes that buying winter clothes will do more good than buying a weapon. Seong then leaves the office and decides to check out other floors. He reaches an office and finds bloodstains everywhere. From the smell of the blood, he figures out that they are zombies, but looking around, there are no bodies in the office. He starts wondering what happened in the office. Just then, he notices that one of the doors is locked. He tries opening it, but it won't budge. He just assumes that someone might be hiding inside the room. However, he can't hear anything from the other side, and he decides to break down the door. He smashes the door with his golf club and rushes in, but to his surprise, he finds zombie bodies lined up in the room. From his count, he realizes that there are at least 10 zombies in the room. This is a shock to him, as he doesn't know who could have taken out the zombies. He wonders if there is someone so strong like that in their company. He easily figures out that making the said person his ally would really help him. He searches the room but finds nothing useful. He also notices that the other offices have been searched, which means the entire area has been swept clean. With this, Seong comes to the dark realization that his effort in searching the office is nothing but a waste. However, he is left with the question of who could have gone through the offices so thoroughly. He doesn't want to believe that it is just one person. He assumes that there is a group of them searching the offices. He is now left to wonder if the said individuals are still in the building. Just then, he finds a note. The note was left behind by whoever cleared out the offices. The note read thus: "If you are reading this, it must mean you have entered the 4th floor alive. As a fellow human, I am glad to know. I am sorry, but I have taken everything on the 4th floor that could be used as food. Don't just check the break room. I have searched all the drawers, so you don't have to waste your effort. Oh, and don't open the door to the senior managing director's office. I have piled up the zombie corpses in there. The note continues further, informing Seong that the person left a shirt that could be worn in the cabinet. The person also advises against going to the 5th floor. The person continues by saying they are leaving the building and heading to the west coast since it seems like a good place to guard against the zombies. The person adds that they left the building at 10 a.m. and it is the 8th day since the zombie outbreak. Seong is shocked to see this as he realizes that the note was left just yesterday. He realizes that he could have caught up to the person if he had moved earlier. He continues reading the note and sees that the person who left the note is assistant manager Yoon Hyuk-jae from the accounting team. Yoon wishes whoever sees the letter good luck. Seong seems to know who Yoon is since they were colleagues from the same year. Apparently, Yoon was in the special forces, and Seong figures out that his training made it easy for him to take out the zombies. Just then, he checks the back of the note to see that Yoon claimed to have left a gift in the office drawer for anyone who read the note. Seong rushes over to the office drawer and finds coffee mix in it. On the 10th day of the zombie apocalypse, Seong is left staring at the warning Yoon left behind about the 5th floor. He wonders why he was specific about the 5th floor since this is the president's office, and logically, there should be fewer zombie activities there. However, Seong is sure that Yoon will not just leave a warning without having a concrete reason for it. Seong then realizes that he hasn't seen a single survivor since the day before. He knows that his chances of meeting an ally are decreasing by the day. He doesn't plan to miss another chance to meet a survivor since he missed one the day before. He wonders how many floors he has to check to find a survivor. Just then, he sees a light shining at him from across the building. Seong is shocked, and he realizes that someone is trying to send him a signal. He stands by the window, staring in surprise at the direction of the light. The person across the building holds up a note for him to read. Because of the distance, he couldn't see the contents of the note. Just then, it occurs to him that he can use his phone camera. He zooms in with the camera, and the person lets him know that there are people on the 6th and 7th floors. Apparently, they also have 2 more people on their side, and he wants to know if they can team up. Seong's face lights up in excitement when he sees this, because he has finally found survivors. He decides to check on the person on the 6th floor before he makes plans to go to the next building. He gets to the 6th floor, and he is surprised that the entrance isn't blocked. He approaches the door while making it known to whoever is in there that he's not hostile. Suddenly, a zombie approaches from behind. Fortunately, he turns around before the zombie leaps toward him. He is able to block the zombie's attack with the golf club. The zombie pins him to the ground, but Seong refuses to give up and pushes the zombie away with his foot. With enough force, he's able to throw the zombie off balance, and Seong goes for the attack immediately. He swings his golf club repeatedly at the zombie's head, smashing it completely. After killing the zombie, he gets the notification that he has gotten 1 more coin for taking down the zombie. He decides to check further into the floor, hoping to find the survivor. He starts believing that the dude across the building is lying. Suddenly, he hears a sound behind him and he immediately realizes that, truly, there is a survivor. He approaches the door where the sound came from and tells whoever is in there that he's not there to cause them harm. He adds that he only wants to team up, revealing his department at the company before it all went to shite. When the person refuses to open up, Seong thinks of breaking down the door, but just as he's about to hit the door, he hears the person asking him if he's Seong. The person behind the door opens up, and it turns out to be Seona. The two are shocked to see each other, and Seona lets him in and tells him her experience so far. She explains that she has been hiding on the floor from the start, but the night before, a dude suddenly approaches from the outside, demanding that Seona open the door. Seona noticed that something about the dude was off and refused to open the door, but he forced his way in. For her own safety, she hid in the break room, and not even 1 hour later, the dude turned into a zombie. Seong then realizes that the zombie he just killed was the same dude. Seong then asks Seona if she has a weapon, and she says yes. She points to the makeshift spear that was made from a mop. Seong remembers that Jae-sung had something like that too. Seona talks about how useful the spear is, and judging by the blood on the spear, Seong realizes that the lady has taken down a bunch of zombies. However, Seong believes that Seona is still a woman, and she's just going to be a liability to him. Since the world is now very dangerous, and not just from the zombies, but from other bad guys known as plunderers. Just as he stands up to leave, Seona holds his hand, begging Seong not to leave because she can't survive on her own. When Seona realizes that Seong is still reluctant, she tells him that she used to fence. In fact, she reveals that she cleared out the zombies on the 6th floor, and she is ready to show Seong the bodies. Seong is shocked when he hears this, and Seona further adds that Seong is going to regret leaving her behind. Seong is stunned by the amount of information he's receiving all at once. After mentioning all of her achievements when it comes to combat and survival, Seong has no choice but to shake her hands and agree to team up. Once they are in agreement, Seona shows Seong all the supplies she has gathered so far. Seona is surprised that Seong has power banks with him, and she asks if communications are up. Seong reveals that there is an internet provider called SpaceLink. When she learns about this, she suggests that they gather all the power banks they can. Seong then asks her how many zombies she has come across. Seon-ah reveals that she has taken down 8, and including the one Seong just killed makes it 9. When Seong hears this, he thanks his stars that he decided to team up with Seon-ah. After searching the entire office, they were only able to get 2 power banks. Just then, Seong notices that there are marks on the door. He asks Seon-ah about it, and she assumes that it was left behind by the zombie from yesterday. Seong investigates further and finds a vernier caliper. Seong is happy to find this since it's a solid metal that he can use to take down zombies. He has been looking for a weapon, and he just found one. However, he's worried that the caliper is short. Just then, Seon-ah smiles at Seong, telling him that she has an idea. Seon-ah collects the caliper from Seong and ties it to her spear. With this, she provides Seong with a more useful and efficient weapon. Seong realizes that he can stab with it like a spear, and also swing it. Seon-ah proudly tells Seong that it was the right decision for her to come along. Seong thanks the lady for her ingenuity. Seong realizes that he is going to get more benefits like this if he finds a team. When he looked at the food he and Seon-ah had, Seong realized that there won't be a food problem for them in a while. Seong notices a frying pan and asks the lady what she is doing with a frying pan. Seon-ah confesses that she brought it to work so she can return it and get a refund since she didn't like the color, but she wasn't able to before the whole thing went down. Seong then tells Seon-ah that the frying pan will be useful for them to melt snow and drink later. Just then, Seon-ah asks Seong how he knew that she was there. Seong reveals that he was told by a dude from across the building. He explains how they were signaling a light and then passed the message across by writing it in a note. He took a picture of it and showed it to Seon-ah. Seon-ah sees the note, and she becomes suspicious. This calls Seong's attention too, and realizes that it might be risky for them to team up with someone they really don't know. Seon-ah explains that she only opted to go with Seong because she knows that she might not find another trustworthy person. She is basically being careful about the type of person she brings along as her teammate. After giving her opinion, Seong suggests that they trash the idea of teaming up with the guys from the other building. Seon-ah then thanks Seong for taking her opinion into consideration. She then mentions that there is the possibility that their manager Choi is still alive. Seong is shocked when he hears this, and Seon-ah mentions that she was with Choi on the first day, but he later ran away. She was in the break room while Choi hid in the bathroom. He asked her for help, but out of fear, she refused to help. It was later that she confirmed that he had escaped. Seong asks her when he left, and she reveals that it was the night of the second day. Since Seong has explored some of the floors without seeing Choi, he believes that he is currently hiding on the 3rd or 5th floor. While Seon-ah is asleep that night, Seong starts thinking about what might happen. He realizes that the people across might end up teaming up with Choi if he doesn't give them a response soon. He fears that Choi and the group will later come for him and Seon-ah. He is worried about what his reaction will be, but he later throws away the worries since he doesn't want to stress himself over things that are out of his control. He's glad that he now has more coins, and he thinks of buying more gear. He wants to buy a warm hat that would help with the cold, but at the same time, he thinks of buying warm boots for Seon-ah since she needs them too. Seong knows that Seon-ah will just become a burden to him if she ends up getting frostbite on her feet. He understands that the most logical thing he can do is to get her the warm boots, but he remains indecisive. Since he can't come to a conclusion and they don't have a reason to move yet, he decides to sleep and comes to a decision the following day. When he wakes up the next morning, he sees Seon-ah checking her phone, and he asks her how much battery life she has left. She is left with just 22%, even though they charged with the power banks. Just then, Seon-ah reveals that there is a solar generator on the roof, asking Seong if he has checked it. Seong is confused since he doesn't know that there is something like that. Seon-ah then mentions that she was in charge of the project, but it was just to support a small business. She reveals that the solar was installed on the roof, but the project was called off after they discovered a flaw in it before it went on sale. Seong is curious about the flaw, but Seon-ah says she doesn't know what it is exactly, but she is pretty sure that it wasn't a safety issue. Seong then asks her if she knows how to operate it, and she says yes because she was in charge of it. Excitedly, Seong suggests that they go check out the solar generator. The two immediately head to the roof, and they struggle to open the door to the roof because of the cold. They finally get it open after using up their strength. It turns out that the solar panels are still on the ledge above them. There is a ladder that they can use, but it is not coming down. Seon-ah then suggests that she go up instead. She tells Seong to help her up, and she uses Seong's hand as a lift-off surface. She jumps and catches onto the ledge, and she manages to climb up. Seong is impressed, and he remembers that Seon-ah is an athlete, which makes her movements light. Seon-ah finds the solar panels, and since it is not big, she starts taking them apart so she can lower them for Seong to catch. Seong prepares himself to catch the panels, and Seon-ah starts lowering them down. Seong catches the first one easily and then the second one too. They continue this way until they are able to lower the entire 4 panels. Moments later, they pack the panels into the building and set them by the window side, where rays of sunlight can still get to them. Seon-ah sets up the installation and tells Seong that it is ready. Even though it's supposed to be outside, they can't put it there because of the snow. Seong then asks if the setup will still be efficient. and Seona reveals that when the sun is bright, it would charge a phone up to 50%. However, the sun is barely out, and Seona suggests that they wait for the meantime. The following morning, they wake up to see that the phone that they have plugged in since yesterday is still at 9%. To make it worse, the estimated time for the remaining charging time is 12 days, 6 hours, and 7 minutes. Seong is absolutely horrified that they only got 8% in just one day. Seona is disappointed that they only got that small amount of charge time, even with the time and energy they spent setting up the solar generator. Seong is disappointed too, but he reminds Seona that the sun is not out. Even with this, Seona is heartbroken. However, Seong tells Seona that this has only shown him where they must go after they leave the office. Apparently, he is talking about the company's warehouse where they can find food ingredients and also tools that are needed for their survival. Seona is happy with the suggestion, but Seong is left with the problem of how they are going to get there. He tells Seona that they will have to use the map on the phone if the car's GPS doesn't work. However, they are still stuck with the problem of having a low battery. He wonders if drawing a map on paper will help, and Seona tells him that she's up for whatever plan he has. Seona reveals that the company's warehouse is near her house, and because she normally sees it anytime she is out for a walk, she knows where it is and how to get there. Seong smiles in excitement and tells Seona that he is very happy that they teamed up. Seona is also glad as having a partner makes her feel stronger. Seong admits that it was a good decision to team up with Seona since she knows how to do a lot of things, and she doesn't hesitate to do hard work. He realizes that her feet must be cold, but even with this, she has never once tried to take Seong's boots. Just then, Seong asks Seona what her shoe size is. Seona is surprised by the sudden question, and Seong lies that he saw some boots, and he is thinking of bringing them to Seona. Seona is happy to hear this, and she excitedly tells Seong what her shoe size is. Seong is glad that Seona is happy. Seona offers to follow him to get the boots, but he declines the offer, telling her that he is going to go himself. Moments later, Seong returns with the boots, and they fit Seona perfectly. While Seona is talking about how excited she is, the status window opens, telling Seong that he has formed a party. Apparently, coins earned by her party members will also become his. Seong is shocked to see this, as it is his first time, and he starts wondering if the window shop is not everything. He then realizes that having more party members will be a huge advantage to him. However, he doesn't know how it works yet. He wonders if it is because he gave her an item from the shop as a gift. Seona starts thanking him, but he is totally carried away with his thoughts. Seona, pointing straight at him, calls his attention back to the land of the living. Seona asks him if he is okay since he suddenly zoned out. And Seong lies that he was just a little dizzy. He claims that he hasn't been eating well, and Seona suggests that they get something to eat. Seong then notices that Seona didn't see the status window, which means he is the only one who can. Seong agrees with Seona that they should get something to eat since he doesn't want to think about the whole thing in the meantime. On the 14th day of survival, the duo has been out of water for 3 days, and Seong is extremely thirsty. Seong tells Seona that they need to melt snow, and she leaves to get paper and documents. Seong suggests that they make the fire on the roof to avoid burning down the building. After Seong is done preparing a spot for the fire and Seona arrives with the documents, Seong becomes hesitant to light the fire outside. He knows that the smoke will most likely attract plunderers to their location. However, his urge to drink water supersedes the need to keep people away. Seong lights the fire and the papers start to burn. Seong and Seona warm themselves up first, and after this they gather snow into the frying pan. They put it on the fire, and after melting they got drinking water. Seong is relieved because it has been a long time since he had warm water. Even Seona talks about how warm the water is and how she has almost forgotten about anything warm. The two are proud of each other for not giving up, and with this, they urge each other to make it to the end. The following morning, Seona frantically wakes Seong up. Seong stands up and asks her what the problem is. She points to the building from across the way and tells him to look there. Apparently, the dudes from the other building have left them a message. Seong asks Seona what the message said, and it turns out that the dudes are planning to leave their building to join them. Seong immediately becomes hyperactive, and he asks Seona when she sees the message. Seona reveals that she just saw the message too because she just woke up. Apparently, the dudes started moving super fast. The monster. They confirmed that Seona had seen the message. Seong is worried that the dudes from the other building might be trying to reach them, believing that they have a lot of resources. Seong is not sure if they are bad guys or good guys. Since they can't figure this out, the two decide that joining them is not worth it. While the two are still busy discussing, they realize that the 3 dudes have come out of their building. They have masks covering their faces, and they also have a sledgehammer and a shield. The monster, the two see this. They realize that they are in trouble. Immediately, Seong suggests that they start packing their things. Meanwhile, the 3 dudes are taking down zombies on the outside, using their weapons and wits. Seong cannot believe that the trio is moving faster than he predicted, and they are also fighting the zombies with a well-cooked-out plan. He figures out that the trio will reach them in 15 minutes at the rate at which they are moving. Seong is the first to pack all of his things, and he asks Seona if she is done. Seona replies that she is not done, but she is almost done. Meanwhile, the trio has come across a horde of zombies that scares them, and they decide to run instead of fighting the zombies head-on. The trio avoids the zombies and just breaks their way into the company's building, and this is a door that has been preventing the zombies from outside from entering the building. After Seona is done packing her things, she points to the solar setup, but Seong tells her to forget about it. Seona is conflicted because of this since they are not going to have electricity without it. Seong reminds Seona that their survival comes first, and this kicks into her head. She realizes that the dude is right, and she immediately stands up. As they step out of the office, they realize that the three dudes are already coming up. Seong wonders where the best place for them to be is. The roof seems to be the best place for them as it is going to be easy to defend. But he is worried that in a long-term battle, it would end up being a disadvantage to them because of the cold. Seong then suggests that they head down to the 6th floor instead. He tells the lady that they need to block the entrance and hold out, and she agrees with this. The two prepare themselves for the emergence of the three scary dudes coming for them. While waiting them out, they figure out that the trio is scouting for survivors as they draw closer. In no time, they have reached the 5th floor, and Seong tells Seona to get ready because the trio is close to them. Just then, they realize that the trio is not coming up, leaving them puzzled. Seona quickly tells Seong that something is obviously strange. Just then, they hear a loud bang beside them, shaking them off their feet. The two get back on their feet to check on each other. Seong is confused as to why the trio would resort to the use of explosives when they know that there are only two of them. Suddenly, it dawns on Seong. He remembers the note of warning left behind by the survivor, who told him not to go to the 5th floor. In addition to this, he remembers that Seona mentions the possibility of Manager Choi being alive. This basically tells them that the trio is either on the 3rd floor or the 5th floor. Seong then suggests that they go down to check, shocking Seona. Seona wonders if it is a good idea for them to do so. Seong says yes, because he just got a hunch. They reach the floor below them, and they find the entire area turned upside down. Seong urges Seona to stay on guard. Just then, Seona calls Seong's attention to something beside them. They turn around to see corpses. Seong, being the man, urges Seona to stay back while he investigates. He reaches where the bodies are, and he only finds 2 bodies, compounding the mystery. Since there is no sign of explosives again in the area, Seong is left to wonder. He then notices that the door is completely blown off. He continues further, and he soon hears a voice spewing threats. Seong recognizes the voice as Choi's. It turns out that his assumption of Choi behind the explosion was right after all. Seong walks into the room to see Choi stuck under a chair. Seong is horrified when he realizes that Choi's legs seem to be gone. Choi screams, begging for Seong to help him. Choi begs like a baby, saying he is not ready to die. He tells Seong to help him even if it is just once. Seong stands there, totally confused. Just then, Seona shows up beside him. She doesn't notice Choi until she hears his voice. She turns to see Choi stuck, leaving her horrified. Choi continues begging for help, but Seong finally tells him that they can't help since they don't have medicines and they are not doctors. Choi screams in agony, telling the two that he wants to live. Suddenly he says there is a way that he can live. He mentions that the zombies are undead, and he suggests that they infect him with a zombie so he doesn't die. In fact, he is so desperate that he suggests they take him to the 1st floor, where he can easily get bitten on his own. Seong then walks over to him, telling him that they can't do any of the things that he is suggesting. Choi gets mad when he hears this. He starts screaming, saying he stopped the looters from getting to the top floor and they can't help him. He continues with his trash talk, suggesting that the two are having an affair, which is why they don't want to save him so that they can run off together. Choi claims that Seona was once all over him, but now she is all over Seong. She calls her the B word and decides that it is better for them to die together. Since there is one more explosive left in the room, he starts crawling toward it. Suddenly, he gets impaled from behind by the makeshift mop. After this, Seong and Seona check through the belongings of the dead dudes, and they are able to confirm that they were truly looters. They are disappointed that they couldn't get something meaningful from the looters. The shield that they used is already damaged from the explosion, and it is basically unusable. And for the hammer, it is heavy, leaving Seong confused whether to take it or not. Just then, Seong mentions that Choi would have died anyway. He mentions that Choi would have eventually died slowly from excessive blood loss and shock, and killing him was mercy. He tells Seona that she has no reason to be guilty. Seona then mentions that they could have turned Choi into a zombie as he requested, and Seong says they would just have to kill him either way. Seona agrees with Seong, saying his deduction is true. Just then, Seona calls Seong's attention to what is happening outside the building. The horde of zombies is already trooping into the building since there is nothing to hold them back. Later on, the community group talks about the explosion. They are all confused about the explosion and the horde of zombies that started moving afterward. The moment Seong sees this, he immediately becomes worried, telling Seona that more looters will start coming their way. In addition to this, they have a zombie horde to deal with. Seong says he has been monitoring the zombies, and even though some have moved away, most of them are still in the area. He is worried that the lobby currently has no space for them to even move.
Xiong tells Seon-ah that they should start making plans to leave at the latest the next day since they can't afford to let the zombies block the emergency exit too. Seon-ah agrees with Xiong, and he suggests that they go check the situation on the first floor. They attach flashlights to their head for easy mobility, and as they continue moving, Seon-ah suddenly stops Xiong, asking him if he heard some noise.
Xiong calms down to listen, and he figures out that the noise is coming from above them. They move a bit further, and they find a zombie in the office in front of them. Seon-ah is scared when she sees this, and she wonders if Choi has also turned into a zombie, but Xiong assures her that Choi is dead. He reminds her that his head was punctured, which means there is no way he is going to turn. Seon-ah then suggests that one of the looters got bitten downstairs and made their way up. Xiong rules out this possibility, telling Seon-ah that the looter would have turned into a zombie before they arrived there. Xiong believes that it might be a survivor from the 3rd floor that they haven't checked who went to the 5th floor. He adds that there is another possibility, which is the zombie crawling into the building via the broken window of the 5th floor. This scares them to their bones, but they hope that it is the latter. Xiong then suggests that they go back to the 1st floor. They slowly make their way to the 1st floor, and to their horrific surprise, they find loads of zombies roaming the area. Xiong expected this, but didn't know it would be this bad. Xiong completely writes off the 1st floor since it is already overrun by zombies. He notices that zombies are walking around the security room, leaving him to wonder what happened to Jae-sung. He knows that Jae-sung would have felt everything much better and closer than all of them. Xiong tells Seon-ah that they have no chance of going out through the 1st floor. Seon-ah then suggests that they check out the parking lot. Xiong says he has thought about this, but reveals that there were zombies there the last time he checked. He suggests that they take another look to see how many of the zombies have gathered. They check out the basement, and they are relieved when they find out that the number of zombies in the parking lot is not much. Xiong says the basement is much better when compared to the 1st floor. In addition, there are loads of vehicles in the basement that they can use as cover. They are also lucky that there is no wind activity in the basement, which should help them move without the zombies smelling them. Suddenly, Xiong calls Seon-ah's attention to the reflection from the convex mirror above them. Seon-ah takes a look and tells Xiong that she can see the B1 floor. After taking a closer look, Seon-ah tells Xiong that she can only see the entrance connecting the passageway to the B1 floor. She also adds that the number of zombies on both floors appears to be similar. Xiong stops her before she adds to their fear, and he suggests that they head to the 7th floor first. The two sit down to make plans, and Seon-ah mentions that it would be nice if they could move by car. However, they are worried that the car has been sitting in the cold for a long time and the battery might have discharged. Because of this, Xiong suggests that they rule out the use of cars. Seon-ah wishes that they had bicycles. Since there is no bicycle, Xiong says they have no choice but to walk. The two start making plans on how they are going to move. They soon finish up with their plan, and all that is left is for them to move. That night, the cold becomes more intense than before, preventing the two from having a good sleep. Seon-ah is the first to notice that Xiong is awake. Xiong is surprised, and Seon-ah mentions that she figured this out because Xiong has been turning around like a worm. Seon-ah asks him if he is worried because of Jae-sung, and he says yes. Seon-ah then assures him that he is free to bring Jae-sung with them. Xiong appreciates this, but he doesn't want to be selfish and put both their lives at risk. However, Xiong is disappointed since Jae-sung appears to be a trustworthy person. Seon-ah also doesn't like the fact that they can't bring Jae-sung with them because he is going to be in danger. However, Seon-ah reveals that she is totally cool with Jae-sung coming with them. Since he has her permission, Xiong decides to use his phone. He apologizes in advance, just in case the brightness is too much. Xiong then texts Jae-sung, telling him that he is leaving the following morning, and if he is interested in coming, he should join them at the emergency exit by 6 a.m. The following morning, by 5:40 a.m., Xiong and Seon-ah are already awake, ready to move. He checks his phone for the message he sent, and there are 2 comments on it. However, none of the comments seem to be from Jae-sung. The anonymous users only wish Xiong well on his trip to the outside. Xiong is disappointed, but Seon-ah tells him not to, since Jae-sung might actually be waiting for them at the meeting location. With this, the two start descending down the floors, and once they get to the meeting location, there is no one there. Since it is just 3 minutes past the promised time, Seon-ah asks if they should wait a little. The two then stay by the door, waiting till the clock hits 6:05. Once they realize that no one is coming, the two decide that it is time they go. They spot a zombie that wasn't originally there when they were making their plans, and they decide to take out the zombie first. They slowly enter the basement to avoid drawing attention to themselves from the zombies. They walk around the cars to make sure that they have covered all the time. Once they realize that they are in the perfect position, Xiong strikes the ground with his foot, grabbing the attention of their target. The zombie comes rushing at Xiong, but Seon-ah appears behind the zombie and takes it down by impaling it with her makeshift spear. Once the zombie is taken out, Xiong gets the notification that his party member has mined a coin. Xiong commends Seon-ah for a job well done, and he gives her a thumbs up to encourage her. After this, the two continue with their plan. They continue further and soon reach outside. They are shocked at how cold the environment is. Seong was expecting it, but he didn't know it would be that cold. Seona mentions that they are doomed if they find themselves trapped outside. As they walk through the densely covered snow, they try to avoid zombies too. Moments later, Seona confesses that they are not making much progress compared to what she envisaged. Seong then tells her that they have no choice since it is much better than staying in the building and getting caught by looters. The two continue moving, and they soon arrive at their first destination, but Seong suggests that they move carefully since zombies are everywhere. Just a few meters to their destination, the wind starts blowing, and this freaks the two out. Seong knows that they are in trouble since the wind will carry their scents, and the zombies will quickly lock onto it. Before they can make a move, the zombies catch wind of their scent. The zombies start rushing toward them, and the two are totally confused as they have no idea what to do. Seong is worried that if they go to the park, they're going to die. Since the zombies will most likely fall and cause more noise to attract other zombies, Seong believes that the best place for them to go is inside a building. However, he is confused as to which building they are supposed to enter. He figures out that open entrances already have zombies crawling everywhere. They are also in trouble if they break into closed spaces, since it is going to attract zombies. Seong stands there in utter confusion as he doesn't know what exactly he is supposed to do. Suddenly, he spots a bus on the left. The two rush over to the bus and try getting it open, but it becomes totally difficult for them. Seona suggests that they break the glass to get access to the bus, but Seong tells her to wait a bit. Seong takes a closer look and realizes that there is a key sticking out from the ignition. He manages to pry open the door, and the two barely manage to enter the bus to avoid getting overrun by the zombies. However, they still have an issue with the windows. Seong is worried that the zombies will eventually break the glass and enter the bus. The entire area is now crawling with zombies because of the noise they made. He runs over to the ignition while thinking of how they need to block the entrance. He tries getting the bus to start, and he keeps trying it over and over again. The two pray, hoping that the bus comes to life. The bus refuses to start, but Seong continues trying since this is the only option they have. Seona stands by the bus door while Seong tries to get the bus to start. The zombies reach the door and try to gain entry, but Seong pushes the zombies with his spear. Seong and Seona are now seriously praying that the bus starts, as their lives are already flashing before their eyes. Just when all hope seems to be lost, the bus comes to life, giving the two the sense of hope that they have been desperately searching for. Seong wastes no time stepping on the gas, throwing the bus forward. Seona loses her balance from the sudden movement and she falls to the ground. However, she stands up without getting hurt and she assures Seong that she is fine. Once Seong confirms that Seona is fine, he focuses his attention on driving. They continue driving through the dense and snowy path, and they finally get to a safe location where they are able to block the entrance. However, the bus is still surrounded by zombies, leaving them confused as to what to do. Seon-ah then mentions that they are going to need to attract the zombies' attention. Seong agrees with this, but he believes that it is only possible if someone passes by. While they are debating on what to do, the zombies keep gathering around the bus, and Seong fears that the bus will eventually get overturned if it continues the way it is. Seong cannot believe that they have all this way just to die a horrible death in the end. Seong's brain goes into overdrive as he thinks of what to do. Just then, something falls from a building, crashing to the ground, and this attracts the zombies. And they rush over to where the noise came from. Seona heaves a sigh of relief that they narrowly escaped death. The two are glad that they managed to get out of the tight spot they found themselves in. They look outside the bus to see that there are still a few of the zombies left. Seona is pretty sure that the zombies will leave over time. Once they have come to this conclusion, they are left to wonder who saved their lives. Seong asks Seona if she managed to locate where the item fell from, and she says yes. She points to the building, and she believes that it fell from the second or third floor. However, the two are left with the question of who it could have been. Seona wonders if it is a survivor who still has some humanity left in them. Suddenly, Seona spots their savior waving from a window on the upper floor of the building in front of them. Seong squints his eyes to try to see the person, and since the person has long hair, he concludes that their savior is a woman. Seona notices that the woman is holding binoculars. Seona then writes a thank you message on her phone, and she places it on the bus's window for the lady to see. In return, their savior gives a thumbs up to acknowledge their message. Seong and Seona are both happy to see this as they conclude that there is still some humanity left in the world. Seona is utterly disgusted with the idea that all remaining humans might be looters. Seong then says he would have loved to give their savior a cup of noodles, given they were close. However, Seona doesn't think they have anything left. The two start making jokes about their time in the company's building. While some of the zombies continued roaming around the bus, Seong and Seona remained trapped. The cold night gets to them, forcing them to wrap themselves in blankets while staying close to each other. Not long after this, Seong asks Seona if she is feeling pain anywhere. Seona is surprised to see that Seong is still awake. Seong then mentions that Seona's face looks totally pale. He sneezes, but he immediately realizes that this might not be a good idea. He stands up to see if any of the zombies caught wind of the noise. Luckily, there are no zombies in the area. Xiong then asks Xiona if she woke up because of the cold, and she nervously says yes but claims that she is fine. Xiong grabs Xiona's hand, telling her that they are feeling the same way. He lets Xiona know that they are going to be in trouble if they don't warm their bodies. Xiona then asks if there is any way for them to warm their bodies without making a fire. Xiong thinks over it, and with a red face, he tells Xiona that they should make a fire right there in the bus. Xiona is shocked to hear this as she points out that they are going to suffocate if they do that. Xiong then mentions that they are going to make a hole for the smoke to escape from the bus.
However, he is worried that breaking the glass window would make too much noise, and zombies could break in. After putting their brains together, Xiona pushes her spear into the roof of the bus, making a hole through it. Xiong is impressed by this, and he suggests that they make 3 more holes. Xiona is happy to do this, and in no time they punch holes into the roof of the bus.
They light a fire with the smoke escaping from the bus via the holes. Xiong is glad that they brought paper, and Xiona agrees because they wouldn't have been able to make a fire without it. Just then, Xiona calls Xiong's attention to a post uploaded on the community group. This is a post from the day before. The post is apparently sent from the person who helped them, and they are asking to join them on the bus. The person tells them to reply with a negative or positive reply when they get the message. Xiong figures out that the message is for them, but just to be sure, he decides to check. Xiong then asks the person who uploaded the message to tell them which building they are in. The target then replies, and they describe the building where they are down to the last detail. However, Xiong is still not satisfied with this, and he asks the person to name the car brand in front of the convenience store. The person then replies with the right car brand, and once they have confirmed that it is their savior, Xiona and Xiong thank them. Their savior wastes no time, asking if they can tag along. They add that they are ready to follow them wherever they are heading. Later on, one of the community members posted about opening his window only to see a zombie crawling toward his window. He was able to get the zombie off by throwing everything he had towards it. The zombie fell off and died after landing on its head. The user claimed that he took a closer look and realized that the zombie was the director of the indoor rock climbing gym who lived in the next building. With this, he starts assuming that the zombies might actually have what it takes to use the abilities they had before turning. Once morning breaks, Xiong and Xiona prepare to exit the bus. Xiona then mentions the post about zombies upgrading into mutants. Xiong lets Xiona know that he is not surprised, as he had already expected it. Xiona then asks Xiong how he was able to predict that something like that would eventually happen. Xiong then reminds Xiona that the window on the 5th floor where Choi died was shattered from the explosion. Xiong believes that zombies appeared on the 5th floor because they climbed up there. The two head to the location where they are to meet their savior, and once it is 9 a.m., a lady shows up. The two are happy to see the lady, and the same goes for the lady, who is already waving at them from where she is. Xiong is still talking about how they are now a group of 3 when a zombie suddenly appears out of nowhere, leaps toward their savior and smashes her to the ground while biting her. Xiong and Xiona stand there in horror as they watch the zombie tear into their potential teammate. Xiong covers his mouth in shock as he watches more zombies arrive on the scene because of the smell.
Xiong immediately tells Xiona that it is time for them to leave because staying there means death. Xiong is about to start walking away when he realizes that Xiona has not made a move from where she is. It turns out that she is absolutely shaken because of what she just witnessed. Xiong grabs her, and he tells her that he understands how she feels, but they need to leave. He lets her know that their only means of surviving is to go.
Xiona pulls herself together, and she follows Xiong. The two arrive at the entrance of the subway station. Xiong stands there to think for a second. He knows the surface is quite dangerous with so many variables, but at the same time, he is worried about the subway, since all the people heading home from the subway might have turned into zombies. While they are standing there, the wind blows again, just as if it were against them. The two realize that they have no choice, and they immediately descend into the subway. Xiona is surprised that there are no zombies in the area. Xiong looks around to find only corpses. Xiona figures out that the corpses on the ground must have been trampled by the crowd. Xiong figures that the zombies are probably clustered somewhere in the subway since the number of corpses on the ground isn't much. Suddenly, Xiona taps Xiong on the shoulder, and she points to something. Xiong turns around to look, and his eyes light up in excitement, realizing that they are standing in front of a convenience store. The two enter the store, but their hope to get something in the convenience store is ultimately crushed when they realize that it is empty. This basically tells Xiong why there are no zombies in the area. Xiona notices that the soda cans were smashed, and she suggests that they check out the storage. Just then, Xiong finds some cans of beer that were obviously left there by someone. Xiong looks at Xiona while asking her if they should take just 2 cans from the bunch. After this, they check out the clothing store, but even the store has been emptied. Xiona had some hope since they are in the summer, but she was shocked that every piece of clothing in the store was gone. Just then, Xiong mentions that the cell phone shop next door was not looted at all. Xiong then tells Xiona that they still have some distance to trek, even though it is not more than 20 kilometers. Xiona then tells Xiong that she had earlier seen something strange on the wall, and she took a picture of it. She shows Xiong the picture that she is talking about. The writing on the wall appears to be a note from a survivor, who is talking about how lost they are since they don't know what to do or where to go. In the note, the survivor adds that the chaos surpassed what they imagined. After reading this, Xiong is shocked. With what he just read, he believes that the person is giving off vibes that they know about the zombie outbreak. Xiong assumes that the note is a very creepy one, and just then, Xiongna's phone died. Xiong then suggests that it is time they continue moving. As they walk further on the subway, Xiong talks about how clean everything is, which makes it really suspicious. Xiongna agrees with Xiong since she was expecting to see bats or at least some random animals. In addition to this, there are no zombie corpses, and Xiong assumes that they are gathered somewhere. Suddenly, they find a subway train, and Xiong beckons to Xiongna to stop talking so that they can stay on guard. They start checking through the carriage, and they are shocked at how neat it is. They soon find a small box, and inside it is a small knife. In addition to this, Xiong finds a Bluetooth speaker. Xiongna believes that they can use it later to draw zombies away. They continue searching the area, but they find nothing. Xiongna believes that they would have gotten more loot if they had come earlier. After searching the whole coach without seeing anything else, they step out. Just then, they see a dark figure in front of them. It turns out to be a zombie, but when they point their flashlight at it, there is no reaction. The size of the zombie scares them as it is very huge. Xiongna then mentions that she knows who the person is. Xiongna says the zombie was a pro baseball player in the KBO before he retired. Xiong then realizes that this was the reason the zombie was built like a tank. Xiong suggests that they avoid the zombie as much as they can. Slowly, the two start walking by the zombie, but just as they are about to go past it, the zombie catches wind of their scent. Without hesitation, it comes running at them. Xiong prepares himself to take on the zombie, but as the zombie gets even closer, he realizes that the zombie is absurdly fast. Xiong places his makeshift spear in the perfect position for the zombie, and it runs into it. Once Xiong has managed to restrict the zombie's movement, he screams at Xiongna, telling her to get into position. Xiongna runs at the zombie and hits it on the head with a golf club. However, this is not enough to take out the zombie, as the golf club breaks apart while the zombie's head remains intact. The zombie is more pissed than before, and it immediately turns its attention to Xiongna. It is as if the zombie doesn't have a rod sticking out of its chest. He weaves off Xiong and tries to grab Xiongna. Even Xiong can feel the difference in strength. Xiongna's athleticism saves her as she dodges the zombie's grasp. She weaves to the other side before pushing the knife that she found into the zombie's head. This is enough to take down the zombie as it crashes to the ground. Xiongna and Xiong are both stunned by how strong the zombie is. Xiong is shocked that the zombie was still able to move even with a spear stuck in its body. Xiong apologizes to Xiongna, telling her that he should have tried to hold on to the zombie. However, Xiongna assures him that it is fine since there was nothing else he could have done in the situation. She stands above the zombie and pulls out the knife from its head. Xiongna then asks Xiong what they should do with the knife. She suggests that they tie it to the other end of the spear to make it even more deadly. Xiong is impressed by the suggestion, and he acknowledges that it is a good idea. Since the wooden spear's tip is worn out and the knife is sharp, he believes that they will work well together. In no time, they get it done, and the spear looks even more dangerous than before. Xiong suggests that they start moving again since they have had a bit of rest while they were conducting repairs. Xiongna agrees that they continue their journey. Soon afterward, Xiongna lets out her frustration since they have passed 5 trains and they haven't found anything useful to them. Xiong believes that someone definitely cleared it out before them. Xiongna then mentions that they are close to the Sindang station. Suddenly, they hear a loud sound that appears to be an explosion coming from the front. This sends a wave of fear through their bodies. Xiong doesn't know what it is yet, but believes that going that way is the wrong choice for them. The two run back to where they were coming from, and they manage to make it back to one of the trains while they were almost out of breath. Xiongna is about to start asking a question, but Xiong shushes her. They stay by the window to check outside. Xiong can see and feel that something is coming in their direction. Suddenly, a horde of zombies approaches their location. Xiongna asks Xiong if they should fight the zombies, but he tells her to hold off for the time being. The two stand by the train door, waiting to see what will happen. Fortunately for them, the zombie horde just runs past them without looking in their direction. The two heave a sigh of relief, but Xiong still believes that they can't relax just yet. Xiong is confident that the horde they just saw is not the end. Xiong is left questioning their next move. He doesn't know if going toward the station where a bunch of zombies are swarming is the best decision. Their other option is to head toward the opposite direction where the explosion came from, but the problem is that they haven't been there before, so they can't know what to expect. Xiong is left totally confused, and Xiongna suggests that they just hide. Xiong doesn't want them to do this, saying it is too risky. Xiong reminds Xiongna that the last time the zombies passed, they were rushing toward something, which is why they missed their scent. However, zombies walking slowly will definitely catch on to their scent. Xiongna understands where Xiong is coming from and tells him that she is going to follow any instruction he lays out. Xiong then suggests that they go back the way they came from, and they need to move quickly to prevent the zombies from spotting them. Xiongna agrees with him, and together, they start moving in the direction that they came from. They walk past zombies with sweat dripping down their faces in fear. They soon arrive at Section 3, and Xiong climbs up the rail side. He is confident that they can avoid the zombies as long as they don't make a mistake. Seong stretches his hand to Seon-ah to try and drag her up the railing. However, the sweat on his hand makes pulling her pretty hard. Just then, Seong loses his grip and Seon-ah crashes to the ground. Seon-ah's landing on the ground makes a bit of noise that immediately catches the attention of the zombies that are close by. Seon-ah watches in horror as the zombies rush toward her. Seong screams at her, telling her to get on her feet. Adrenaline pumps through Seong's body, and with just one pull, he drags Seon-ah to the top of the railing. However, one of the zombies grabs onto Seon-ah's leg and almost pulls off her winter boot. Once Seon-ah is safe, Seong tells her to run for it. Without wasting time, the two start running and they head to the upper part of the subway. They run into a zombie on the stairs, but Seong dodges the zombie while Seon-ah stabs the zombie with the spear. The two continue up the stairs and they soon run into another zombie, but nothing is stopping them. Seon-ah pushes her spear into the zombie's head, terminating it immediately. Another zombie appears again, but the two are pumped with adrenaline. Their survival instincts have taken over and they easily take down the next zombie too. They push the zombie to the ground, and without hesitation, Seon-ah stabs the zombie's head. Once they realize that there is no zombie to harm them, the two fall to the ground, breathing heavily. Seong mentions that they just escaped a close call, and Seon-ah agrees with him. Seong then asks Seon-ah what the outside looks like. Seon-ah replies that she can't see any zombies in the area. Seong is glad that they are alive, and just then he remembers Seon-ah's leg. This is when it dawns on Seon-ah that she might have gotten scratched by a zombie. She pulls off her winter boot to check her leg, and to her surprise, there is a claw mark on her ankle. Seon-ah freezes in fear, believing that she is about to turn into a zombie, but Seong calms her down. He tells her that it is just a scratch from the zombie's claw, not its teeth. Seon-ah is still confused until Seong assures her that she will be fine. He tells Seon-ah that he once got scratched, but nothing happened to him. Seon-ah is forced to ask again, and Seong reassures her that he was fine after he got scratched. After hearing the repeated assurance from Seong, Seon-ah bursts into tears of joy. She tells Seong that she believed that she was totally done for. Moments later, Seong helps her disinfect the wound, making her feel much better. Seong is glad that they found a first aid kit, even though it is not a comprehensive kit. Seong then tells Seon-ah to rest. Seong then looks through the room, and he soon finds a key. He continues looking through the office and soon finds the logbook. Inside the logbook, he is able to get the password to the locker. Seong then heads to the locker, shocking Seon-ah. Seong realizes that Seong knows what he was doing from the moment they entered the room. Seon-ah becomes even more curious, and she asks Seong how he knew where to look, and Seong confesses that he used to work in a subway. This was when he learned that they used to write down the safe codes in the logbook. Seong successfully opens the safe, but Seon-ah wonders if there is something interesting in the safe. Seong then reveals that the safe mostly contains keys for inside the station. However, what he was looking for was not the key, but something else that would be important to them. Seong finds a wooden box in the safe, and sitting inside the box is a gas gun. Seong explains that subway stations always have a gas gun stashed away in storage. Seon-ah is surprised to hear this, and she asks Seong why a subway station would have a gun. Seong reveals that the station staff usually collect cash in the morning and the gun is kept just in case there is a robbery. Seong then passes the box to Seon-ah, telling her to hold on to the gun. Seon-ah refuses it, telling Seong that she has never touched a gun and she doesn't think she even knows how to use it when the time comes. Seong realizes that Seon-ah is right. Seong then reaches into his bag and brings out the key he found in the office. Seon-ah asks Seong what the key is for, and Seong excitedly reveals that the key is for the station staff room. Seon-ah is excited to hear this and she tells Seong to quickly open the door. Seong pushes the key into the keyhole and fortunately the key opens the door. The two stare at each other in excitement and they stroll into the room. After walking a few meters into the room, they are shocked when they run into a dude sitting in a corner and he is covered in a blanket. He looks absolutely pale, and after the two are done getting over their shock, they decide to investigate to see if the guy is still alive. Seon-ah checks and gives Seong the report that the poor fellow is dead. She reveals that the guy probably died from starvation and not that he was infected. Seon-ah and Seong take the clothes from the dead fellow since they need them. That night, the two share the same bed, and Seon-ah suggests that they take the blankets with them even if they move. Seong is worried that they might not be able to carry the blankets, but Seon-ah thinks that they can since they are low on food and supplies. Their bags are almost empty, which will give room for the blankets. Seong agrees with Seon-ah's suggestion, and Seon-ah urges the dude to get some sleep since they have been running around all day. In the middle of the night, Seong stands up to check their food supply. He realizes that they only have 2 days of food supply left. He knows that they have to reach the warehouse by the time their food runs out or they are in trouble. However, Seong is confident that they will make it to the warehouse as long as they don't run into any problems. Seong looks through the status screen to check out the clothes available. He finds winter clothes and they are being sold at a price of 3 coins. Seong knows that it is getting colder outside, but they are not feeling the effect since they are currently underground. He is worried that they will have to do something about it once they return to the surface. Seong assesses the situation and figures out that things underground are getting worse, which means they are going to have to spend more time on the surface. He wonders if he should get winter clothes for both him and Seona, since he has the coin to do so. He's about to buy it, but he holds off again. He thinks of waiting till later to buy it since they have no use for it at the moment. Just then, he notices that the shop now has more things that weren't there before. He purchases an unknown item that Seong is pretty sure would serve him well if he uses it right. The following morning, Seong wakes Seona. She finds it difficult to move since she enjoys her sleep. They step outside to find buses that have been toppled on their sides. It appears that the buses are being used to block the path. Seona climbs up and she is shocked to her bones when she realizes that behind the buses is a horde of zombies. Seona climbs down, telling Seong with fear written all over her face as she reveals that the zombies are at least hundreds. Seong immediately suggests that they try the other side. Seona then reminds Seong that the subway is the only short route that connects to their destination. She asks Seong what they are supposed to do, and Seong replies that their only choice is to go to the surface. However, the wind blowing outside is pretty strong. Seona is worried that the zombies will easily catch on to their scent. Since they can't get rid of their scents, Seong suggests that they go back to search if there is something they missed. Just as they turn back into the darkness, Seong takes a few steps back to check an item that catches his attention from the shop. The item is called the Explorer, and it allows the purchase of hidden items that are not listed in the shop. If the item doesn't exist on the list, the Explorer is not consumed, but if it does, the Explorer is consumed even if the item is not purchased. The price for the Explorer is just 1 coin. Seong purchases the Explorer item, and it shows up as a search icon. He asks the Explorer to search for a vaccine, but the search comes back negative. He asks the Explorer to search for zombie vaccine, but the result comes back the same. After this, he asks the Explorer to search for zombie antibodies, but the search still comes back empty. He continues trying different keywords, but to his disappointment, none of them come back positive. Seong was already expecting to be disappointed, but he believed that it was worth a try. Just then, Seong asks the Explorer to search for a deodorizer. The Explorer finds the deodorizer for him, and it costs 1 coin. In addition, the effect of the deodorizer will last for 90 minutes. Seong is glad that he was able to get a deodorizer at least. However, he is shocked that the deodorizer is quite expensive. From their current location to their target location is about 4 hours. He realizes that he and Seona will need at least 3 deodorizers before they reach their target. He checks his coin and realizes that he has only 7 coins left. Seong knows he has no choice but to buy it, even though he was saving up the coins. Seong grabs the deodorizers, and he hands her own bottle of deodorizer. Seona is shocked, and she asks him how he got the deodorizers. Seong claims that he found them stashed on top of the platform. Seona is excited that they managed to find deodorizers. However, she is worried that it might not work. Seong then suggests that they try it, saying in the worst-case scenario they run back to the subway. The two then apply the deodorizer on their body and their backpacks too. And once they are ready, they step out of the subway and Seong suggests that they put themselves in a good position just in case they run into zombies. Just then, the wind starts blowing really hard again. Seona then spots a zombie close to their location. They walk closer to the zombie, and to their surprise, it doesn't move or react to them. They wonder if the deodorizer is working, but just then, the zombie screams into the air. Seong and Seona are left wondering if the zombie noticed them. However, they maintain their stance, and fortunately, the zombie turns around. The two then realize that the deodorizer is actually working. Seong suggests that they keep going since they have nothing to be scared of. They walk by a gun store, and Seona notices that the store is pretty intact. Seong believes that looters might have cleared it out, or the shop is being protected by the shop owner themselves. Seona realizes that Seong is right, and she suggests that they continue moving, since anyone inside the shop will be armed. Not long after, they arrive at Suyu Station. Seong is not impressed with the journey so far since he believes that they will already be in Uidong. Seong then suggests that they start looking for a place to pass the night. Seong offers to check the right side while Seona checks the left side. Seong assesses the area and realizes that there are windows that are still intact. Just then, he finds zombies walking around in the area where he is checking, and he figures out that his area is a no-no for them. He regroups with Seona, who also was not able to find a good place for them to stay. Seong says their ideal location is a place that is not overrun by zombies, but also sealed enough to keep new ones out. The two then enter a building to explore. After some minutes of searching, Seona believes that the coast is clear since there are no zombies yet. She tries opening one of the doors, but it won't budge. Seona then suggests that they break down the door. However, Seong advises against this, telling Seona that the noise from the shattered glass might attract zombies. Seona agrees with him, but just as she is about to give up, Seong tells her that there might be another way. Even though he is not 100% sure, he is trusting his instincts. He looks around, and he is able to get his hands on some spare keys. Seona is shocked to see this, asking Seong how he did it. Seong reveals that he had initially noticed that the cafe stays open late, and he knows that there are always shifts between those who close the store and those who open it. Since keys tend to get missed sometimes, they just hide the spare nearby. The two get access to the cafe, and Seona smiles excitedly. Fortunately for them, they find flour and eggs that are still untouched. Seona asks Seong what they are supposed to do with the flour, and he suggests that they leave and come back for it later. Since it is heavy to carry around, Seona brings up the idea of them stashing it instead. Seong agrees with the idea, saying it's a brilliant one. In addition to the things they found, they find a power bank and even a wristwatch. Seong believes that at the pace they are moving, they should be able to reach the warehouse by the next day. He then adds that getting to the warehouse is paramount if they don't want to be in trouble. Seong reveals that they only have 4 chocolate bars left. Seona then reveals her worry. She thinks there is the possibility that there are people at the warehouse already. Seon-ah then comes up with another brilliant idea. She wants them to set up a code word just in case either of them gets into trouble. Without arguing with her, Seong agrees to the brilliant proposal. Seon-ah then decides to come up with a code word for them. Seon-ah suggests that they talk casually if they are faced with a danger that involves a ranged weapon like guns. Seong then follows the trend and suggests that they use polite speech in case they are faced with a melee weapon. Seong then tells Seon-ah to call him Oppa if they can handle the assailants. But if the situation is unclear, she should refer to him as assistant manager. If they find themselves in a position where they need to run, Seong suggests that she call him senior. With these code words, Seon-ah believes that their words won't stand out too much, and they will be able to talk even more naturally. The two are glad that they came up with something nice, but suddenly, thunder and lightning strike the area. This shocks the two since thunder and lightning strikes are not common during snowy weather. Seong realizes that the snow will pile up even more. Seon-ah is worried that their journey the next day will be worse. Trying not to worry about the problems of tomorrow, Seon-ah tells Seong that she's going to get some rest. While Seon-ah is sleeping, Seong hears a weird noise outside. He stands up to check, and he is surprised to see a dude on a motorcycle. Seong finally understands that motorcycles can move through snowy roads. However, he is surprised as to why the dude decided to move late at night. In addition to this, the motorcycle seems to be heading in the same direction that they are going. Seong doesn't want to worry too much about it as he believes that the dude might be going elsewhere. Just then, Seong sees a horde of zombies following the motorcycle's trail. Seon-ah wakes up to see the zombies moving like sheep. Seon-ah is worried since the zombies appear to be hundreds in number. Seong hits his head in frustration, realizing that even if it is a fraction of the zombies that they have to deal with, their journey has gotten tougher. Seong has 2 scenarios painted in his head. The first one is that the rider stumbled upon the horde and ran away, or there is the possibility that it is intentionally leading the horde somewhere. Seong is worried that they are just going to get caught up in whatever the rider is planning. There's not enough food for them to make compromises, and since their destination is just a little above 3 kilometers, they can't turn back either. Seong then suggests that they check the community group, as there might be something useful there. The first few uploads on the community group talk about the thunder strike, which is pretty weird. They continue checking, and they see a post talking about a shelter. Apparently, there is a huge shelter, and this is where some people are heading. However, some people do not believe that the shelter exists since there is no government to regulate things. Another user reports that he found the shelter, but he doesn't see it as a shelter, but as a cult. He reveals that he barely escaped, and he advises against going there, saying it is dangerous. Some people argue this, saying people cannot change that fast since it's just been a month since the zombie outbreak. After reading through the argument and hot takes in the group, Seon-ah asks Seong about his opinion. Seong agrees that the shelter is shady since the outbreak occurred only 3 weeks ago, and they have already gotten a shelter big enough to contain people. In addition to that, there are steady supplies coming in. Seong remembers that Yoon was heading to the west coast. He wonders if they can catch up to him so that they can get some intel from him at least. Seong suggests that they forget about the shelter in the meantime, and Seon-ah agrees with him. Seong is disappointed that there is no update about the rider. Seong then tells Seon-ah that they are just going to have to stick to their original plan. With this, the two continue their journey to try and reach the warehouse. However, Seong lets Seon-ah know that they will have to retreat, just in case they run into a horde on the way. Shortly afterward, they use the last deodorizers that they have, and Seong tells Seon-ah that they need to move fast. Not long after this, the fog becomes thicker, blocking their visibility. Seong checks his wristwatch and figures that the deodorizer effect has worn out. He lets Seon-ah know that they will have no choice but to fight their way out, just in case they run into zombies. Just then, Seon-ah spots the warehouse, and she quickly calls Seong's attention to it. Seong's face lights up in joy because of how big the warehouse is. He is confident that with the warehouse, they won't have to worry about supplies again. Seon-ah tries opening the door to the warehouse, but it won't budge. Seon-ah suspects that something is wrong. And in addition to this, there is barbed wire running over the warehouse, which wasn't there before. She asks Seong if he has been there recently, but she says the last time she did was a couple of months back. Seong then suggests that they try to find another way into the warehouse. Seon-ah soon spots a section of the fence where the barbed wire is weak. She tells Seong that she is going to climb over. However, Seong stops, saying it is too dangerous for her to just jump in without knowing the situation of things inside the warehouse. In addition to that, Xiong is worried as to why the area is the only place left unsecured. Seon-ah then reminds Xiong that they have no option. She mentions that the deodorizer's effect is already gone. They need shelter, and they also need food. After hearing this, Xiong agrees, but he tells Seon-ah to be careful since there might be danger lurking inside the warehouse. Seon-ah steps on Xiong's hands and uses this to propel herself to jump the fence. She stands on top of the fence and tells Xiong that the warehouse looks empty. She tells Xiong that she is jumping down, but unknown to her, there is a strange figure hiding behind some cover. Just as Seon-ah lands on the ground, the strange person appears behind her, points a gun at her head, and tells her to raise her hands. The strange fellow searches Seon-ah's body, and he is relieved that Seon-ah has no weapons on her. He then asks her about her companion, and Seon-ah answers honestly, telling the dude that her companion is outside the building. He asks how many, and she says 1. He then orders her to tell Xiong to come through the front gate. With a gun to her head, Seon-ah tells Xiong to come to the front gate. Xiong already knows that something is wrong when he hears this. Since Seon-ah is speaking casually, Xiong figures that she is being held hostage with a ranged weapon. He also realizes that Seon-ah called him Oppa, which means they can handle the assailant. Since this is the case, Xiong reaches into his backpack and grabs the gun he stashed there. Xiong tells the assailant that he is stepping forward just as requested. Xiong hides behind the gate, and when the assailant requires that he drop his weapon, Xiong portrays his spear as the only weapon he has. Xiong drops the weapon and starts coming out slowly. Xiong is conflicted on what to do since the gas gun with him has a shorter range, which means he has to get closer. However, Xiong cannot move further than he is without the assailant noticing the gun. Xiong decides to play a game with the assailant. He tells him that he has dropped his weapon, and he suggests that he let his companion go. The assailant keeps urging Seon-ah to move forward. Xiong is glad to see this since he just needs the assailant to come a bit closer. Once the assailant is in range, Xiong pops out from where he is hiding and points his gun at the target. Seon-ah is already getting herself ready for the showdown, and she bends down before either of them fires their weapon. Xiong is the first to fire, and the gas hits the assailant in the face, causing him to scream. Screaming in pain, the assailant fires his weapon too, but the bullets slightly miss Xiong's head. Xiong then runs from his field while Seon-ah swings into action. She gets behind the assailant and tackles him to the ground. Xiong grabs a duct tape and throws it to Seon-ah so she can use it to restrain him. Just then, Xiong realizes that the zombies are closing in on his position because of the gunshots. He screams at Seon-ah, telling her to get him the key. Seon-ah tells the dude to hand over the key, but he refuses, saying he has no reason to give them the key. Xiong screams, telling Seon-ah that he is running out of time. Seon-ah gets serious with the dude and kicks him so hard while demanding that he release the key. Seon-ah searches his body and manages to find the key. Seon-ah rushes to the gate to open it while Xiong is busy fighting the zombies off. Seon-ah keeps trying the set of keys with her, but none of them seems to be working. Xiong is thrown into survival mode as he knocks zombies down like they are nothing. One of the zombies comes rushing at Xiong at full speed. Xiong dodges the zombie, and just then the zombie hits the gate. Seon-ah manages to open the door at the right time, screaming at Xiong to enter the compound. Before the zombies can rush inside, the two manage to close the gate. Seon-ah locks the gate with chains and a padlock while asking Xiong if he is hurt. Xiong replies that he is fine. Seon-ah is happy to hear this, and Xiong reveals that the gunfire was what attracted the zombies. Once this is settled, the two suggest that it is time they head inside, but they turn around to realize that they still have to deal with the strange dude. The dude is screaming in pain because the gas hurts his eyes. Xiong then tells Seon-ah that they should get him into the building. The two grab him, and just as they raise him up, they realize that it is Jae-sung. After they have settled inside the building and Jae-sung has washed off his burning eyes, Xiong explains to Seon-ah that Jae-sung is the one he met on the first floor. Seon-ah feels guilty as she didn't expect that they are going to meet in such a weird way. Jae-sung also admits that everything turned out weird, and in addition to that, his face still hurts. Xiong apologizes for this, telling Jae-sung that the effect of the gas gun will last for at least a day. Jae-sung says there would have been no need for a fight if they had told him beforehand, but at the same time, he has no excuse since he was the first to use violence. Xiong thanks Jae-sung for coming to terms with what happened. Jae-sung then offers the two a warm cup of tea. As they enjoy the tea, Xiong asks Jae-sung when he arrived at the warehouse, and he reveals that he got there 3 days ago. Jae-sung confesses that the real reason he came was because of the solar panels. Seon-ah's face lights up in shock when she hears that there are solar panels in the warehouse. Apparently, he was about to install it when he saw Xiong and Seon-ah. He explains that he initially put them on the lower windows, but because the efficiency was low, he had to move them up to the roof. Xiong is impressed when he hears this, since Jae-sung was reluctant to leave the company building in the first place. Jae-sung then reveals that he is thinking of shielding the solar panels with glass awnings to prevent the snow from falling onto the solar panels. Jae-sung mentions that there is a load of supplies for them to work with. Xiong then asks Jae-sung if there is enough supply in the warehouse. Jae-sung explains that the warehouse is well stocked when it comes to construction supplies, but when it comes to food, there is an uncertainty surrounding it. It turns out that the food supply is in Section 2. Jae-sung reveals that when he went there to check it out, the roof of the building had collapsed under the snow. Jae-sung only salvaged what he could from the area. However, none of the food got spoiled because it was frozen. He tells the two that once they have enough manpower, they can retrieve more food supplies. Seong is relieved to hear this. Seong then asks the big question. He asks Jae-sung if it is fine with him if they stay at the warehouse. Seong believes that becoming allies and helping each other out is the best way forward. Seong and Seon-ah heave a sigh of relief when Jae-sung accepts that they should stay at the warehouse. It turns out that Jae-sung was already planning to ask them to stay. After what happened between them earlier, he figured out that he didn't have the manpower to properly defend the warehouse. He knows that more people will come, and if he is alone, he will eventually lose the warehouse. Jae-sung is glad that the two showed up at the right time to become his allies. Seong thanks Jae-sung for trusting them. Seong then points out that the zombies are still all around the warehouse. This is a surprise to Jae-sung, who believes that the horde would have scattered. Seong then asks Jae-sung how he was able to get his hands on a gun, and Jae-sung reveals that he picked it off a dead cop. Jae-sung mentions that he has seen the bodies of several people who chose to kill themselves rather than become zombies. Jae-sung says he took the gun and kept it with him for self-defense. However, he ended up using them against Seong. Seong then asks him if there are bullets left in the gun, and he says no. He confesses that he has used all the bullets when fighting Seong. Seon-ah is worried that with the zombies lingering outside the warehouse, outsiders won't have easy access to the building. Seong agrees with this, calling it a silver lining. Moments later, Jae-sung prepares ramen for them. Seong and Seon-ah are both engrossed with the food, and Jae-sung tells them that he will prepare more for them if they want. Seon-ah is so happy that she whips out the 2 beer cans that Seong stashed away. While enjoying the sweet ramen, they drink cold beer with it. Jae-sung then raises a toast to new comrades using the beer. After they are done eating to the fullest, the trio talks about how comfortable they are, which is something they have not felt in a long time.